Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with another weekly astrology update. And we are in Gemini season. And like I said last week, I am feeling like I am coming back alive. The sun entered Gemini May 20th at 8:59 a.m. East Coast time officially. So we've been in Gemini season for a few days. Now, happy full moon today, guys. We have the full moon in Sagittarius, which means the moon is in Sagittarius, directly opposite of Gemini. So Sagittarius and Gemini are always in oppositions of each other. There's a lot of similarities there, which we've talked about with oppositions, but in general, those two signs are always opposite each other on the birth chart wheel, which means, things play out within that spectrum, that opposition spectrum. I think that's the right word. Okay, so let's talk about what is happening. So yesterday, Wednesday the 22nd, the sun in Gemini was trine Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto's the very beginning of Aquarius, 0 degrees. So as soon as the sun moved in there, they trined each other. So that was nice. Yesterday probably felt like powerful, but in a very loose sort of way. Things are shifting. I don't know. I was just thinking about taking my son to the art show, and my older one has ADHD, and one of his closest friends also has ADHD, and I took him too, and both of their meds were off, and it was kind of hilarious last night. I was like, it was just me, and it was, if you already know, if you're a parent of a serious ADHDer, you already know what that was. So it was kind of like this loose, crazy mayhem, but then I would be able to pull it back in, and then it was right back to loose, crazy mayhem. Okay, so this morning, May 23rd, we got the full moon. This is exact at 9:53 a.m. this morning, again, East Coast time. And this full moon goes opposite Venus and Jupiter last night. And then as Venus and Jupiter this weekend move into Gemini together. So right before, like I said, they're in Taurus last night, and they are getting, as the moon was then moving into, from Scorpio into Sagittarius, they were hitting that Venus-Jupiter conjunction, and then both this weekend move into the sign of Gemini. Saturday, the 25th at 4:15 a.m. East Coast time is when Jupiter moves into Gemini. I'm excited for this, and I'm excited for all my Geminis with this transit. And on the 23rd, which is today, so this is how it goes. On the 23rd today, Venus now moves into Gemini today. And then on the 25th, Jupiter moves into Gemini. And they're right now, though, they had that conjunction last night. And then on May 25th, Venus will trine Pluto. Not on the 25th. What am I doing here? Getting all my things mixed up. Yeah, I guess it is on. Oh, yeah, it's at 7:16 in the morning. I was thinking to myself, wait, since Pluto's in that first degree, I'm like, Venus moves faster than that, but it was 7 in the morning on Saturday morning, East Coast time. So before I jump into that and what Gemini we're going to talk about Gemini season and those transits and this full moon, I want to say a crazy story that I thought you guys would enjoy. I can't even blame it on Mercury retrograde. I was thinking about what can I look into astrologically to put this on. So I have a client who moved down to Texas because she has a second home in Mexico. So moved down to Texas. I saw her maybe 3 months ago or 2 months ago, somewhere around then, and gone. I'll never see her again. I have a friend stylist who I used to work with 10 years ago in Ardmore. We went to different salons, but she stayed on the main line until about 2 years ago. And I know that she was back and forth between Texas and where she was from, around State College. And in fact, we don't really talk, but she's on my social media. And the last time I had seen on social media, it looked like she was back home doing hair in State College or right around that area. So the girl, the hairstylist, messages me on Tuesday and says, "You're never going to believe this, but your client, Terry Brown, is in my chair right now." How weird is that? So not only Terry Brown never worked at a salon with both of us. She never knew this girl. I never told her about this girl whatsoever. This girl didn't know her, but somehow my client, and I'm sorry I shouldn't have said her first and last name. I don't think she cares though. My client, and there's a lot of that name, but my client went down there into some small town in Texas, ended up calling the salon this chick works at that I know, and then ended up with her as her hairstylist without knowing anyone. How crazy is that? I could not get over that, like, weird, synchronicity. Sometimes fate is really funny the way it lines. And she had said to both of us that we have similar energy. And me and this girl actually do have pretty similar energy. She's a Libra sun. I don't really know what her rising is. But, so we have the Libra Gemini chattiness and openness that comes from both of those signs. I just thought that was crazy, and I had to share that one. I can't even believe that happened. Again, no, just alignment there, but no one knew of any of us. The three of us did it. I never put them together. I can't figure out the astrology yet to talk about that, but I just had to share that one. So let's jump into Gemini season. So the outgoing, outward reflecting side of Mercury is Gemini. As you guys know, Gemini rules over both. Mercury rules over both Gemini and Virgo. And with Gemini, the air sign, Gemini is the outward expression. Mercury rules over communication, our thinking, our movements. So when you see Gemini, they're the ones who don't shut up. They're the ones who can usually talk to anyone. They're the ones who are blabbering away. They're the ones who you always see moving and doing and detaching. So they are really the outward expression of Mercury. And I posted this meme maybe 2 weeks ago about Geminis not reaching out. It said something along the lines of, what is it? Geminis are the only sign I know that can lose all of their friends and not give a fuck. And there is so much truth to that, myself being a Gemini, yet I wanted to break it down. As we say, each sign has things that are a benefit about them and also a little bit of a negative about them that they have to work on. And I would say this is both Gemini. It's a benefit, but it's also a little bit of a negative that they have to work on. And I know I have had to learn. So the truth is with Geminis, they don't give a fuck. The crazier, the weirder, the more outlandish stories you think about them, the more they enjoy it. I know I love it. I love to go out and people think all kinds of things about me. They also detach, right? Mercury detaches very easily from people's opinions, all right? They like to walk into the room and think they're the coolest, the smartest. Nobody kind of sees the world the way they do. So because of that, they kind of have an easy detach button. And it's not that Geminis, and Virgos are this way as well, but just a little bit different. It's not that Geminis don't care about the people that they love or the people that they build friendships with. However, let's dive a little bit deeper into it. Mercury placements, both Virgo and Gemini, but Geminis, I think, bounce a little bit. It's a little more air, where with Virgos, there's a little more groundedness in their friendship connection. So with Geminis, they're very in the moment connection. That is what Mercury does. Mercury shows up in this moment right now. And then when it moves to the next moment, it's not thinking about the moment it just had. And I don't know if you guys have ever had like Gemini friends, but when you hang out with them, it's almost like you hop timelines with them. You go to a different dimension. You'll spend 7 hours just talking about deep, amazing things and going from here to there. And it's almost like you don't see them the next day and you're like, what the heck? Where did I go? That was like a whole whirlwind, but it was a lot of fun. And then you might say, well, why haven't they reached out? Why haven't they reached out? It doesn't mean that Geminis are not saying like, hey, I don't care about you, I don't love you. It's that they're already 10 moments ahead. And they're very what's right in front of them. So if the person, place, or thing is right in front of them, that's what they connect with. And they don't necessarily even think or bother with connecting with the other stuff that is not right in front of them. And if you find a lot of people with ADHD actually have a Gemini placement, everyone I know, mostly if I know their whole birth chart, have a Gemini placement, especially the air signs in general, because their energy is always moving and it's up and it's down, it's unpredictable. So again, it's not that they don't care, they don't love you, they just show up so deeply in that moment with everything they do that the other moments kind of just pass on by in their mind a little bit. And they don't need, because they're so, love themselves, I could say, and they're so happy with themselves, and they also can like connect with the mailman down the street, or they can be in their mind. They don't necessarily need that comfort of having physical friends around them all the time that other signs like water signs or Libras or other things like that kind of need. Geminis don't have that need. So again, don't, if you reach out to a Gemini that you haven't talked about, they will reach out back out to you and be excited to hear from you, blah, 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 but they can't always be the one to reach out. And I know for myself, I think with doing hair, talking to people all day, I start to, I get overwhelmed with people. So that's something, though, I had to change because I know for certain friendships, they valued that. And as I grew older, I said, okay, well, this is how I am. But there are going to be some people who I love, who are near and dear, and it's going to be, important for me to maintain this friendship that I want to. There's not a lot of friendships I want to maintain. That's the truth. That's the Gemini truth. But the ones I do, I've grown as an adult to be like, respond, text in and see how they are, make plans with them. And I've learned how to adapt and how to do that over time, but I definitely wasn't good with that, and I'm still not perfect at it. So, and it's also not a flaw, right? There's a lot of things to be said about detaching from someone the second you leave. I mean, that's the great thing too, why Geminis tend to always be happy, is they don't really have a lot of attachments. And as we know, attachments bring suffering. To the core, attachments bring a lot of amazing things, but to the core of them, that's what actually causes our suffering, is when we're attached to something and it is no longer there. And that's one of the beautiful things, and one of the lessons I like to say with Gemini and also Mercurial people. Again, like I said, they aren't rooted in the security of that connection. They're more rooted in the security of the new connections and what's the new and all of the energy from all of the connections. And two, Geminis and Virgos, because they're Mercury ruled people, they know people better than they know themselves. They're constantly watching the way people move, the way they think, the way they communicate. Unlike the other signs, this is their ability. So they also see a lot of bullshitters. And I'm sorry, there are a lot of bullshitters out there. And that also, like, I know even for myself, I see the way a person moves within about 5 minutes of being with them. And in that moment, I don't feel bad if I decide, hey, I'm never talking to that person again, or they're full bullshit. I don't care. I can't tell you how many times in my life where I'm like joining a group of people, or I like am involved with a group of people I see on and off, like friends. And I see someone quickly and I know that they're bullshit and I won't need to be around them. It doesn't matter if 15 people can't see that bullshit. I see it, and I know eventually everyone else will, so I back myself up. And back myself away, and that is the way the Gemini and Virgos move. And again, one of the beautiful things about Mercurial people and that we can learn is that ability to detach, is that ability to not put expectations on anything outside this moment. That's what they do. That's what Geminis do the best. They don't even have expectations. They just allow the moment to show up as it does, and then when that moment ends, they no longer have expectations on that moment. So that is my little spew about Geminis, and because I know that's often why we're one of the most hated signs, is this ability to detach from people, places, and things. And a lot of people don't understand that. Again, for my Geminis, you might have to, You might have to find someone, a person, place, a thing, a friendship that you value, and just say, okay, I have to make sure I put effort into this. That's one of the ways we have to shift and change. But like I said, there's also a lot of beautiful things about detaching, and something that we can all learn during this season. And we'll all have a little bit of a taste of it when Mercury in a couple weeks moves into Gemini, its home sign. So let's talk about this full moon in Sagittarius. We started feeling it yesterday. We're going to feel it in throughout the weekend a little bit. When the full moon moves into Sagittarius, and the reason why Geminis are in Sagittarius or similar and in an opposition is that Geminis are the thinkers. They're the movers. They like to make sense of things. They understand, like I said, how things are done mentally, the mental process. They are always 10 steps ahead of everybody. They also need to figure things out in their brain. Sagittarius is similar to Gemini in the way that they're both mutable. They're both flexible. They can kind of come and go. They both enjoy sort of otherworldly things and interesting conversation, and both go against the grid of life as we know it. However, Sagittarius are the feelers of life. If Geminis are the thinkers of life, Sagittarius are the feelers in life. So they know life just by feeling it and understanding it. And they usually can get lost in their emotions without making sense of them. And that's sometimes where the butting heads comes in. I have some Sagittarius friends, and sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about, but I know we tend to butt heads when it comes to this very, like, all right, let's get it together. That's look at your emotions. That's see what's realistic. That's see what's not realistic. Do you want, blah, 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 all the things that Gemini say and do, where Sagittarius is like, no, I'm just going to go run away to a land with fairies and hippies, and you don't understand me. And the truth is, they don't even understand their own emotions. Sagittarius is where we can help. So that's sometimes, and we're kind of like, all right, get it together. Let's go. So that's where a little bit of the butting heads is one communicates with words and thoughts, and the other one communicates with sort of just feelings and what they happen to see in the moment. So with this full moon in Sagittarius, my mutable signs, y'all are going to be feeling this the strongest. Like I said, this is going to be Geminis, Gemini risings, Gemini moons, but we're going to have the Gemini, the Virgo, Sagittarius, and the Pisces. You guys are going to feeling this the biggest. And my Gemini risings and in Sagittarius risings, you're going to feel it the most personable. One of the great things when there's a full moon in these mutable signs is whatever energy comes up is quickly moving. Like whatever happens, it kind of will go on to the next thing very quick. It's not really stuck in the moment like a full moon in Scorpio is that we had last month. It's not like intense like that. It can be intense, come on strong, but then it's quickly like, I'm mad. Never mind. I don't know if I'm that mad anymore. Things like that. So here's what we can expect with this full moon. Getting deeper or giving a connection a little more of yourself. Like we said, there is this detached to both a little more with Gemini, but Sagittarius can in the same way be kind of attached deeply in the moment and then get scared of feeling and then detach. So this can bring about getting deeper or giving a connection a little bit more of yourself. And in a way of like maybe someone is expecting you to do it, or maybe a little bit forceful, not a strong forceful, but maybe someone kind of backs you into a corner and says, hey, I want to know, and like makes you ground yourself or makes you be truthful and says, hey, I want to know, why you're not giving me this deeper connection here. And I want this deeper connection with you. So now you may have to either seek awareness in yourself and be like, is that what I'm doing or I'm not doing or why? Or you're just going to be like, I don't know why. Or maybe I don't want this, or maybe I do want this, but I got to reflect why. So a little bit, someone's kind of calling on your bullshit a little bit. Again, for my mutable signs, you're going to be feeling this the most. Someone's calling out your bullshit and saying, hey, why are you running away right here? Hey, why aren't you going there, when I talk about some future plans? So again, kind of like, not a strong force, but like wanting to know the answer why you're not getting deeper. There's going to be, again, direct and blunt conversations with people. Geminis with the sun in Gemini and going opposite that. That's the thing with Gemini is they're very blunt, which sometimes Sagittarius has a harder time with. Geminis just speak the truth. It's another reason why they're hated. They're just call it how it is. And sometimes, they don't sugarcoat things. And sometimes they got to worry about how they say things, but they don't. They don't give a fuck. I know I don't either. It's like not my problem if people can't handle the truth, but I know some of you don't love that, but I am who I am. So that can be that, a little direct and blunt communication that maybe upsets you or however it is. Again, the upsetting energy won't be too serious or won't last very long. Detached emotions, coming back around to feel. Both signs actually will detach from things. So this can kind of make us feel things that we haven't felt in a while, wanting to have manic fun. Both, when they can have fun, can be very kind of manic-y and kind of wild. There's this like innocence, yet like, ooh, like I'm like two little ADHD kids. I'm going to do a bunch of things that I shouldn't do right now. And I'm cute and innocent while doing it. And I'm okay about getting in trouble, but kind of like that sort of energy. walking away and not giving a fuck, super detached, like for something good, something that you just finally don't care about anymore and you need to walk away from it. And it's going to be the energy of like, I don't really give a fuck about this. Blasting off with words, good and bad, just really boom, 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 saying a lot of words. And again, good and bad. Awareness that leads to detachment from things. Like you get some strong self-awareness about your home environment, your emotions, or your life path in life, and you're able to detach from that. Big avoidance energy, especially again when it comes to something you don't really want to feel or talk about. So this full moon is really bringing about this kind of energy of like, no, I don't want to face that. I've been detached for a while, to like, you're going to have to face that. It doesn't matter what you think, you are going to have to face that. Running away or escaping with fun. Again, it's a mutable full moon, so that means a lot of flexible energy with any typical full moon chaos. Okay, now the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, we began feeling honestly like last weekend, the beginning of the week, when each of them are within 3 degrees of each other. And then when I say exact, it's when they're both at the same degree. They were both trine Pluto, so there was like feel-good feels on steroids, particularly where I think we're going to get to that end tomorrow. Feeling a little bit, this is more kind of this weekend, the beginning of the week with the moon in Scorpio, I actually think brought like sudden like annoyances a little bit, or sudden like, I want to crawl out of my skin. However, after this full moon later this evening, we're going to be on to that feeling good feels on steroids, seeing the power and strength in a relationship, friendship, or a creative career. I'm really loving this conjunction again with the trine of Pluto. I don't know. I just think it's giving it a really strong foundation on something that normally or previously hadn't had a strong foundation. Health benefits are showing up for you in a big way. Spiritual benefits are showing up for you in a big way. The work you've put in over the last year while Jupiter was in Taurus, when it came to your health benefits or when it came to your spiritual benefits, like I said, they're really showing up. The positive changes you sealed, the positive changes that you seeked out in your life, maybe it's not spiritual, maybe it's not health, but other positive changes, you're now feeling the positive change. You're like, I'm feeling released. I'm feeling okay. Conquering past something in a really positive light. Feeling powerful in a beautiful way. This is also big baby making energy, I feel like. So if you guys don't want a baby, be careful, especially for my Aquarius risings, Aquarius moons, and my Sag risings. That's because this puts this conjunction, this transit in like houses for you that would create babies. I should also say, as well as my Taurus, Gemini, Venus people as well. So if you don't want a baby, just be wary. If you do want a baby, this is it. And you're like, have this astrology, the Sag, some Gemini, some Aquarius. This is definitely some baby making energy. I'm just going to say that. And I'm curious 9 months from now if we have a surge of babies, because Venus in Taurus, right? Venus rules over our children. We're coming up off of this full moon at the same time as the conjunction. And with Jupiter is multiple and abundance. And then coming and switching over to the, from Taurus, which you would look to children. And then moving into Gemini, multiple. Again, I would not be shocked if 9 months from now, we got a shit ton of kids out there floating around. And I guess that would probably make them all, probably Aquarius, Pisces, right? I mean, I'm not doing my math here in my head real quick because I don't want to count on my fingers, but I got pregnant with Abram, I think at the very, very end of April, like around April 30th, and I found out I was pregnant, like 3 weeks pregnant in the middle of May. That's why I'm guessing this would make it like a lot of Pisces. I don't know if we need that, more Pisces in this world. Definitely some more Aquariuses would be good. I'm just kidding, Pisces, kind of. So, again, feeling creatively clear after this full moon and then having this conjunction. So you're finally feeling creatively clear with what you want in life and where you're going. All right. So remember, Gemini season, the awareness here. Take on Mercury's ability to not give a shit. Like I said at the beginning, find you some Gemini friends and listen to them when they say, how do you not give a shit what people think? Ask them. A, part of it comes very natural, but B, they learned how to, if they are feeling it, for me, sometimes I do care for a second, 5 seconds, and then I can talk myself out of caring and be realistic and be like, oh, it's just my ego that cares. And do you really care? And you don't care, blah, blah, blah. And 5 minutes later, I actually don't give a shit anymore. So that's the ability we can take on right now, because the truth is we have adapted the way we are with social media and the constant connection and blah, 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 giving a fuck about what people think when it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Hey, they don't even know you. It's their own perception. They're looking through their own lenses of life, through their own tainted mind. That's number one. That's where a lot of Geminis understand that at. Like, people are just giving their own perception. But like, what's going on in the mind where the perception is coming from? Number one. And number two, I've trained myself. Most people are, because of the detached, a lot of people are not in your life forever. So why am I going to take into consideration and let someone, maybe ruin a moment or a mindset or something a day because of what they think or say, when they're not going to be there on my deathbed? They're probably not even going to be there 5-10 years from now. So that's the things that help me stay grounded in that moment about not caring. And then I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going to waste my time caring about people that aren't even going to be there on my deathbed. That's my number one rule. If you know that, tell my kids that. The only people I care about their opinions. Now, it doesn't mean that sometimes I don't have a little tinge of like, ooh, an ego sting. But like I say, I talk myself out of it 5 minutes later to not caring anymore. I've trained myself that way. And I just realized, hey, if you're not going to be there on my deathbed, if you're not one of the people who know everything about me on and off, I actually don't give a fuck what you think at all. Life is too short to care about what anyone thinks. And so many people are so fucked up right now in their own head and are riddled with anxiety. There's 2 reasons why people are riddled with anxiety. And remember, I get the inside world. One is the state of the world and all the news they watch, and the 24-hour news is the devil. You know that. If you don't start processing your brain after you read the news and watch the news every time and write down how you feel, then you'll start to realize it. So that's number one, because we have 24-hour access to millions of things that are happening every day. We don't fucking need that. We survived without knowing that for many years. That's number one, why people are all fucked up in their head about anxiety. Number two is that they care about what people think. And I think more than ever now, I'm finding that people are so worried about what people think into like these tiny details. It's not like, I let my kids party and smoke cigarettes at 15 or something like that. Like, it's more of like these really tiny, weird little things like, oh, I ran into so-and-so yesterday and, I feel like I was panicked and maybe I said the wrong thing and a little thing. And I'm like, dude, hey, that person's actually probably feels the same way and is worried about what they said. But like, no, it's not. And so we need to break away from these tiny moments, because that's the other reason why people are riddled with anxiety. They are so afraid of what people think about the way they're showing up in these very tiny little moments. And so people are becoming very hyper vigilant over themselves and creating anxiety over little things. And I guess it's the state of the world and also the way, the internet is and social media, because we have so many insights to all these little things and people's, what people piss off about or whatever it is. But again, the art of not giving a fuck. If you want to find it, find a Gemini. If you want to learn it, learn from a Gemini. I am telling you, they have it better than any other side. Whew. And so the awareness for this week and this full moon is to not give a fuck. You understand me? Don't give a fuck. That is everything that comes up when you start to see that worry, like, ooh, what if so-and-so thinks? Nope. You're going to pause yourself and you're going to say, I don't give a fuck. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to do it over and over and over again until that becomes your first mental response. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing day, an amazing week. I love you guys so much. Goodbye.